It's obvious that this is just a continuation of this attempt by the U.S. government, by these neocons and hawks that are leading U.S. foreign policy in relation to Venezuela, and that they really have no problem making up whatever story they find is convenient in order to justify their actions. Obviously, there are some people in the current administration that want a military intervention in Venezuela. They want a regime change, and they don't really need any excuse for that. They're just making up stories to justify this intervention and try to convince people within the United States, try to convince people within the U.S. military that find this to be a really dangerous adventure, and of course opposition in Capitol Hill. I'm part of what could be called the critical left in Venezuela that has been quite critical of the Maduro government for some time. We think that the Maduro government has completely failed. It has led to an incredible social and humanitarian crisis in the country. We have had a collapse of the economy. The economy today is 50% of what it used to be just 5 years ago. Oil production is about a fourth of what it used to be some 5-6 years ago. The government has increasingly gone beyond the Constitution, and its main priority seems to remain in power no matter what. And it's obvious that we need a transition. The problem is how we have a transition. If we have the U.S. policy and Guaidó's policy, this would mean a violent transition. This would mean civil war. This would mean a U.S. intervention. I belong to a small collective called the Citizens Platform in Defense of the Constitution, and we have been arguing for some time with other groups that what we need is some form of negotiation that would lead to asking the Venezuelan people what they want. We are asking for a consultative referendum in which people would be given a chance to decide if they want to continue with this government, if they want to continue with the National Assembly, or if they want to open up the means to a democratic electoral transition that's defined by the Venezuelan people, not by U.S. pressure, not by U.S. sanctions, not by U.S. intervention, but a decision that should be in the hands of the Venezuelan people. Both sides claim that they have a majority. Both sides are unwilling to even start any serious talks or negotiations. And yesterday's and the day before's activities just show the extreme to which both sides are pressing in order to avoid any negotiation. Every time there seems to be a chance of some talks that would lead to a negotiation that would look forward to a non-violent solution, then there's a very active decision by one of the sides to blockade this possibility. I think the United States is doing everything possible to make it impossible to have a negotiation, because what they want is a rendition of Maduro, and this is simply not possible. We have a situation in which the two sides are at this moment forgetting politics as such. Both sides refuse to recognize the other side, and this is a warlike situation. It's a situation in which both sides attempt to exterminate the other side, and this is certainly not possible in Venezuela today. We have a confrontation between two sides that have a lot of power. On one side, one has the Maduro government. Maduro has the control of the state. It has the backing of the armed forces, and it has the backing of a sector of the popular population in Venezuela, which today is a minority. Obviously, it's a minority, but it's still there. This is something that's seen from outside Venezuela, especially from right media. They simply refuse to recognize the fact that for a certain proportion of the Venezuelan popular sectors, there's still some very active backing for the Maduro government. On the other side, we have Guaidó, who has become the most popular leader in the country today. He has backing of the Today, I can say that it's a majority of the Venezuelan population, but his main strength, obviously, is not internal, but it is U.S. backing. And in this confrontation, unless there is a negotiation, there is a very, very high risk of a civil war, of very violent outcomes, and the United States, as you have said, has repeatedly insisted that the military option is on the table.